I do think the last two are going to be Boston and Denver. They're going to be their own worst enemy.
Senior, which underdog are you cashing?
I guess I'd have to go with the other one, with the 76ers, even though, man, I didn't like, they got the win over the Heat, and really it was because of Nick Batum. I mean, what he did. Now, Embiid was a force when he needed to be, but as we talked about earlier, Jason, he looked winded in that one, grabbed at the knee brace a bunch, so I think that's going to be a tougher series than I even thought with the Knicks. I probably lean to the Knicks in that, but for the sake of this, I'm going to take the 76ers.
The 76ers conversation right now reminds me of 80s wrestling, like when Hulk Hogan was in a sleeper hold and he had his hand up. It's like down for one, down for two, and then on three, you start shaking. Like, we keep thinking that this is going to be Embiid's shake moment. He's going to shake up and the arena is going to go crazy and suddenly, bam. I think we just got to remember this is a best-of-7 series for somebody that's not in best-of-7 series shape. He's not necessarily ready for this best-of-7 series moment. I know I love the idea of the 76ers taking down the Knicks more than I like the actual probability of the 76ers taking down the Knicks. So I'm going to stay away from that one. And by the way, I think the fact that the Bucks are now an underdog I don't want to get too hyperbole here, but man, if the Bucks lose in the first round again, you got to look around and think, man, what's Giannis going to be thinking? What's the future of the Bucks? Like, for a team that a couple of years ago we were thinking, oh, this is about to be sunshine and roses in Milwaukee for the next decade. All of a sudden, the Dame thing didn't work out the way they wanted the Dame thing to work out. So I don't know. If I'm just going to, again, I don't like most of these underdogs if I'm looking across the board. So, I think because I don't like the Clippers, I don't trust the Clippers. You never know when James Harden's going to forget how to basketball. I was working with Danny Green over at Yahoo for the NCAA tournament. I asked him specifically about Harden, and I was like, hey, is it real or is it just bad luck? And he's like, oh, no, like 100%. When you take on Harden at certain moments that it just gets to him. So all you got to do is let it get to him. So like, I don't want to bank on that. If I'm going to pick one underdog on this list, I like to make money. So if I'm going to risk something, I'm going to risk it on Orlando to shock the world and take down Cleveland. Now that's plus good money out of that thing. Like, if I'm going to just throw some pizza cash at it, why not take a Magic team that's far ahead? Look, I know that they've got no offense. You know that they've got no offense, but playoff basketball is about defense, baby. So why not? Like, you got Banchero coming out there with the Rookie of the Year campaign. You got all sorts of defense coming from Orlando. They shocked the world. They slowed down the cap. I don't really believe this happens, but if I'm going to have to take one upset, I'll take the extra money, the extra cash bag.
I love that. I'm all about the plus money. I do want to mention the opening line of Milwaukee was minus 150. So the odds have shifted drastically. And of course, we know it's with Giannis being banged up. But you make a good point about series prices. This is a little bit of advice. If you do like a heavy favorite, like the Nuggets, for example, take a look at the Draftkings other markets. You can go a series spread, right, for them to be up by a certain amount of games in the end. So that's one way to sort of cut down that juice. You can also go game to game. I also want to say, if you have not live bet yet, at least try to understand how the market moves in game. And then once you understand it, and I'm not talking to you guys, I'm talking to viewers. If you're new to live betting, try to understand it. It's a fun time to do it during the playoffs, because when you have these massive favorites, that juice is going to come down. As we've seen often already in just the play-in, a team will come in as a favorite and they'll fall behind early, and then you can even get them at plus money. So I would say, if you love the Nuggets, stay away from that series price, because you never know what can happen. Either go a series spread or bet them in game. That's just my 2 cents. But I'm with you, Fitz. I like the plus money.
One more quick thing on that, not to interrupt you, but one more quick thing. If you're thinking about live betting on it, which, by the way, I think is a lot of fun. Like, I think it's a fun way to do this. I just always tell everybody, if you want to live bet and you've never done it before, take the first round of the NBA playoffs and just watch it. Pretend you're doing it. Go out there and look at how the movements move, the lines move, I should say. And then in the second round, try it. Just try it a little bit. And then by the time you get to the third round, you can try it a little, like, easier way. That's the easy way to dip your toe, is to actually look at it throughout the course of the game and say, oh, it moved this way, so I would have made or lost this. Like, it's an easy way to practice.
That's what I always say. Practice the first few games or first round, and then you'll see how drastically sometimes, too. I always talk about it in hockey. You'd be surprised how quickly those odds will shift. In the regular season, too, when there's thousands of games, it's just a computer system changing it. We don't have to dive too deeply into live betting, but it is something fun to do. do. Cedar, so we talked about the little bit of value on this board. Is there any team that you really want to see win at the end of this all? I'm just curious. And Fitz, I want to get your final two. We're going to be talking hoops as this whole tournament goes on. But if you had to give one team right now.
Well, I mean, first off, when you said you're not talking to me and Fitz, you're talking to everybody else. No, you're talking to me because I need to be educated on all this stuff. Believe me.
Not Fitz.
So you are helping me. Listen, the matchup that everybody's looking at here is LeBron and Jokic, is the Lakers and Denver. Denver's beaten them 8 straight, to which LeBron says it doesn't matter what happened in the past. It has no bearing on now. And he's right. And that's exactly the way an athlete should be thinking. But Denver's going to win this series. I don't know if it'll be a sweep like it was last year, but I think they're going to win this series. I do think the last two are going to be Boston and Denver. I know, Claudia, all you Celtic fans up there in Boston are just wondering, they're going to be their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
I do think Philadelphia can be, or the Knicks will be the biggest threat to them, in all honesty. But they're the best team, and if they play anywhere near the best, they should get out of it. And in a pretty deep West here, you know, we're still wondering about Oklahoma City, Minnesota when you get Karl Anthony Towns back, the Clippers. Kawhi's got the bulky knee. We keep wondering about, is Luka going to get one with Dallas? But I just still trust Denver more than anybody else. I thought they'd have their number 1 seed when we had the 3-way tie for a lot of the last part of the season, especially after Karl Anthony Towns went down. But good on, SGA and the Oklahoma City Thunder for getting that number 1 spot. But, Jason, I just can't see it being anybody else but Boston and Oklahoma City. It's like, Boston and Denver. It's almost going all chalk like in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, but I think there's a reason for that. Look, I agree with you on the Celtics. I'll say this. I don't think the Celtics are even going to be challenged in the East. I am a massive believer in the Celtics. Now, this is where Boston fans will always give me the, but we don't do this well. Yeah, but our shooting disappears late. Yeah, but we got to get better on the boards. Like, I get all of that. But I also think that that's coming from scarred Celtics fans that are just anticipating the downfall of Boston. I don't anticipate any of that through the East. I think they're going to look dominant, and we're going to fall too in love with it because, to your point, all of those deficiencies we just mentioned will be glaring if they end up with a matchup against the Nuggets particularly. So in my mind, this ends up being Boston versus Denver. But if I'm Boston, not only am I trying to make quick work of it so I can stay rested and healthy, I am hoping to God that somebody somehow gets rid of Jokic in this process, because that is a matchup nightmare for what the Celtics particularly are bad at to me. So I feel like the Nuggets are going to win this thing. The Nuggets are going to be boring, and everybody's going to remind us yet again that it's not the Lakers. But, man, that's how I see it, Mike.
I just love it when a dad bod wins a championship, right? It gives hope to all of us dad bods out here. Not you, Jason, because you're finally tuned athlete since you've been trying to turn your body
about
around.
a dad bod?